let's do this. I'll do it in English and then I'll do it in French. The reason I'm doing it now, let's just shut this, sorry, is because I just came across the document I had been looking for, and I'm about to, well, either I'll move or either this place will catch fire before I do, but hopefully I'll move before it does. So while I have it in my hands, I'll show you. Well, two things about Benjamin Franklin. So this was taken from an archive, and it's about Benjamin Franklin on the causes and consequences of population growth. And it was written around 1750 or 1745. And this is also going to be pertaining to Mr. Franklin. So the first thing I did, the feeling I got was that, like every other character name, it also carries meaning, right? And you can take the name apart and listen to the syllables, what they mean, and from that echo you get meaning, right? So I looked at it, and Ben, well, in all Semite languages, means son of. Jamin or Yamin means right hand, right arm. So the right hand, son of. So when you're somebody's right hand, well, you know, you can be a writer, but you can also be helpful to realize somebody's intentions, right? Frank has to do with French and with frankness. And Lin is a line, right? So it could be a line of writing, a line of conduct, whatever. Like guidelines, for example. Okay. So I don't think, okay, it says here, this content downloaded from, and then here you go. That's when I took it out. And does it say we can't? I don't know if I can read it. I don't know if I can read it, but it has to do, I'll show it to you, okay? And then maybe you can zoom it. So Benjamin Franklin, so-called, I wrote mirror effect. You know, the dates are very meaningful as well. When you pronounce them normally in French, you get meaning, but in this case, it's in English. So what I was able to notice is the mirror effect. And 1706, if you say it in French, 1706, it means middle. 7 without 6, or it has to do with blood as well. Anyway, and it's the 1700s is a period when there was a famine. Okay, we say a disette, like there wasn't anything growing and all that for a while, or there hadn't been, and it was gonna start again. So Benjamin Franklin was and remains far better known for his contributions to natural science than for his work as a social scientist. Yet in 1781 he wrote a short essay. It's called Observations Concerning the Increase of Mankind and the Peopling of Countries. So I take that it's after a major cataclysmic event which lasted for a while, and that's how I take it. Now it was a reset period. So this is an essay on population, okay? So Franklin's observations are directed to two specific issues. The first being England's trade policy. So when we talk about trade, okay, it's not just trading of goods, it's also trading of skins, okay? They decided that, and you'll see it in the conclusion, that, you know, they came here, they were white people, like what we call, you know, pale skin. Palestine has to do with the pale beings. And when they say trade, you know, they talk in our history courses in Canada, At a young age, we learn early on about fur trades. But fur has to do with our skins, with who is living here. Okay. So Franklin's comments range over the effects of immigration on fertility and population growth. Yeah, because people who lived here, the darker ones who were here before us, they were very fertile because they hadn't been bleached yet by the fairy the fairies who brought us rations. So it's easy to gather people around you, around your intentions and your project when everyone's starving and you come up with rations. But how good were these rations is very discussable. So anyways, range over the effects of immigration on fertility and population growth. The economics of slavery, well, who were the Slavic people, right? Who were the slaves really? That's my question. And the determinants of urban-rural fertility differences. Bon. Oh. They say that laboring people have been imported, and we've always been told that the darker skinned people were imported, but I think it's the other way around. I think the darker people who survived or just were born here before the pale ones came by and to restart the industries and all that. I think they were darker people because whenever all of the rations and industries stop and the rations, well, people become dark again because they don't get bleach from all their mineral salts that we need to have a powerful electromagnetic dynamo and darker tone. So the danger, therefore, of these colonies interfering with their mother country in trades that depend on labor, manufacturers, etc., is too remote to require attention of Great Britain. So, and when you look at archives, like they talk a lot about black refugees, but let's be clear, they were already here. Okay, they were already here, and they were tossed and chased when these guys came. Okay, and these guys, as John Levy and others have pointed out, they found everything. They did not create it. They came here and they took what was already in place and exploited it to the best of their knowledge. Okay, but it's the Moors, from my understanding, the Moorish people, the Maronite, the Murani, the Morisette, the Morans, and so on, all the Moris, that had it all, created. Okay, so although written in 1751, Franklin's essay was not published until 1755. 1755 is a very significant date here in Canada because that's also something we learn at a very early age, that they deported the Acadians. And Acadians means aka, aka. Ians means from yesterday. Yesterday's people who looked like yesterday's people, they were deported. Were they deported? They were deported to Louisiana, okay, in waves. So the first ones that were deported there were dark-skinned, and later on paler and paler skinned. It wasn't just done once, I don't think. And we know that other dark people were left alone on islands, and they still are today, to this day. And here in Canada, I read in the, I think, was it Newfoundland or New Brunswick? I think it was Newfoundland archives, the earliest stuff, that dark-skinned people, refugees, they were pushed away on very infertile land in Canada, like, you know, the reservations. We call them Aboriginal people reservations. They were, most of them, you know, I think they were eliminated, chased away, and the ones that stayed, yeah, they were tossed to the north, like where there's no good climate to survive, to cultivate, you know, the badlands. That's where they sent them. That's it. Um, I want to jump to conclusions. I want to jump to the conclusion because I don't think I'm allowed to read the whole thing. Oh, that's not the document I was looking for. The document I was looking for. Let me find the conclusion. Can I find the conclusion? And you have to find this document. It's online. The document I mentioned at the beginning of Benjamin Franklin on the causes and consequences of population growth, because the conclusion is really, really, like, he literally states that he wants people to be pale, and that's the intention. And he also states that they shaved the country from its wood, from its trees. Where is it? You gotta find this one, okay? Benjamin Franklin on the causes and consequences of population growth. Okay? It's really important that people read it, especially the conclusion of it, of the essay. But this one here, this document, because I had two, it's basically the recipe on how to keep people working at how to bring people to work for the man, you know, in factories, how to make sure they get bills to pay, that they don't get free energy anymore, that we make electricity run through copper fields, copper cables and wiring. So, and that, you know, they can't fuel their car for free anymore either. You know, it's not going to be that's when, you know, all the tramways and all that were buried in the cities, because we had them before in Canada. Because people had to start fueling on another, well, gas, really, and oil, you know. But then they had to pay for it. So when you have people pay for those bills, energy bills, to survive, well, they have no choice but to work for the man in the factories. So we got to look into that. Yeah, so that's what I got for today. Sorry, it's not the document I thought I had, but it talks about it. So please go and take a look at it online. Take a look at the conclusion of the work I mentioned, because it's very important for us. Thank you. Bye-bye.